From the ceremony and security to the history and reactions from around the world, we have team coverage of the presidential inauguration tonight for you. Let's begin with CBS 2's Dick Brennan here in studio with more. Dick.
Well, Christina Maurice, in Washington, indeed, it was the changing of the guard, but not in a way we've ever seen before. One president departs, another takes the oath of office amidst one of the most challenging times in U.S. history.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
It was a crowning moment of a lifetime of service. Joseph R. Biden Jr. sworn in as the 46th President of the United States.
So help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
And as the president takes over, a vice president makes history.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear.
Kamala Harris, the first woman and woman of color to become vice president.
So help me God.
It all played out on America's grand stage, the western front of the U.S. Capitol, a pageantry of the passing of power every 4 years, but precisely 2 weeks after a mob came to tear down democracy. But in that same spot, a clear signal today that America moves forward, even without the exiting commander-in-chief. Vice President Mike Pence did attend. Also, former presidents Obama, Bush, and Clinton. The Supreme Court justices took their places, along with members of Congress from both parties, and the sounds of patriotism rang out from a royalty of American music. With the nation facing turmoil on so many fronts, the new president reached out his hand in a spirit of unity with the words of Lincoln.
Through Civil War, the Great Depression, World War, 9/11, through struggle, sacrifice, and setbacks, our better angels have always prevailed. Disagreement must not lead to disunion. And I pledge this to you. I will be a president for all Americans, all Americans.
On the National Mall, the new normal. Instead of the usual thousands of Americans, there was a sea of flags because of COVID and security concerns.
So I ask you, let's say a silent prayer for those who've lost their lives and those left behind, and for our country. Amen.
Mr. Biden was once one of the youngest U.S. senators, and now at 78 is the oldest person to assume the presidency. But his years of triumph and tragedies has given him the also-American spirit of optimism for the future.
Together, we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness. A story of decency and dignity.
One of the most extraordinary moments of the ceremony came from 22-year-old Amanda Gorman, the youngest poet ever to read at an inauguration.
When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
The president, vice president, and their spouses watched a military parade before they left the Capitol for a solemn ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknowns. Then it was on to the White House. Mr. Biden jumped out of his limo to greet the few people on the street, and then he and the First Lady walked the last few steps. His first time there as Commander-in-Chief.
This land was made for you.
Now, usually at night in Washington, there would be inaugural balls, but that's all changed because of the pandemic. There will be a few headlining events, though, including one with Bruce Springsteen. Christina Maurice, quite the day there.
It certainly was. And, you know, another mention today, another person that was there is that Capitol police officer that is noted for steering that mob away from Senate chambers. He played a role in today's inauguration as well.
Yes, he escorted the soon-to-be vice president at the time, Kamala Harris, and he brought her in. And it was an extraordinary moment because, as we all remember, this was was the same officer who literally led the mob away from the senators, most likely saved lives. Here's the video of it. He literally pulled a ruse to get them to go away from the Senate chamber, which they were very close to. And this is a man, you know, we talk a lot about heroes. This is a guy who really fills the bill.
Sure
We're not kidding around.
It might be the greatest head fake of all time.
It really was.
To put a name on that face, Officer Eugene Goodman, a good man.
Oh, absolutely.
Indeed he was.
But the word that comes to mind today, after all we've been through as a country, continuity, right? Democracy is strong despite everything. It just continued.
The key words there, despite everything. And there's been a lot in the last 2 weeks, but we do go forward. Always forward.
Democracy.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you,
Dick, thank you.